the entertainment highlight of the week.
Red Ray Gun Limited presents
The Benji and Nick Show.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I said hello first this time.
Yeah, well done. No, it's good. You know,
Thank you.
Variety is the spice of life.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good day.
Good tidings we bring to you and the king.
Good gravy.
Good to be here.
Good times are great.
The goodies.
Loch Ness.
Well done. Well done. That was a particularly interesting round of our game.
I just lost patience with it and said Loch Ness. That was the Loch Ness game that isn't a game and it's not really about Loch Ness. What is it about, Benji?
It's a sort of who says Loch Ness first and after a range of goods. It's indescribable. But it is what it is, and we've been doing it for months now, and regular listeners will understand it. And if you are a first-time listener, you won't, but listen again and you might. There are no rules. Only it's what you make of it. It's the friends they met on the way. Yes, anyway, we are the Benji and Nick Show. I'm not Nick.
And I'm not Benji.
But what do we do on this podcast of audiogrammary?
Grammarly?
Granary, like bread.
Granary bread, yes. Well, there's a few nutty bits. That's mainly me. We talk about old TV mostly, well, sometimes films, but mostly TV. And there are three types of podcasts. One where we set ourselves the task of watching a television program between the two podcasts, and the next time round we talk about it. Another one where we just talk about what we've been watching recently, generally. And
General Lee,
yes, very famous general. And another type of podcast where we do a bit of commentary, where we set a DVD rolling and Benji and I commentate on it. So far we've done Death to the Daleks, 1974, Doctor Who, John Pertwee. Revenge of the Cybermen, 1975, Doctor Who, Tom Baker. And the first episode of Pyramids of Mars, Tom Baker, 1975, Tom Baker. Anyway, so there you go. And although having said that, today is the second of a completely atypical podcast in which we're recapping on all our podcasts we've done before. Last time we intended to do it, we did. We only got halfway through, or less than halfway through. We also read out some of your emails sent to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. And then we talked to Jamie Anderson, who is most definitely alive. Sadly, his dad, Jerry Anderson, is not. Otherwise, we'd be sure to chat to him. I mean, I did chat to him a couple of times in his life. But as it is, we're left with Jamie, which is absolutely fine.
I'm A-OK with that one.
I wrote a nice bit about the introduction of the show and I didn't notice that, saying having a trip down memory lane, remembering all those old TV shows we remembered before and now want to remember again. Remember. I'm not
going to sing it.
Remember you're a wimble. Yeah. Benji, before we go on to the emails, and I'd like you to read the first one, because I've got a second one to deal with that's quite tricky. Any TV programs we want to talk about quickly?
Well, I'll give you a quick rundown. I've mainly been delving more into Star Trek. I've finished The Next Generation. I've got to the end of that mass exodus of
7 years worth.
It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it and completely and utterly love it to bits. And I feel quite upset to be leaving it behind. Subsequently, I've been working my way through the films. After, I think the last time we spoke, what one was it?
You just watched Star Trek Final.
Oh God! Well, dreadful. Then watched Undiscovered Country. Absolutely superb film. Right back to top standard again.
But they got Nicholas Meyer back in, didn't they, from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan?
Yeah, I mean, and you've got yourself a fantastic story, which does all the characters justice, in my opinion. Then I watched Star Trek Generations, which I thought was really good, actually.
Not bad, is it?
Not a bad film at all.
It's
Malcolm
bit
McDowell's,
of a mix. Yeah, it's kind of...
It's a mixture of weird things, but I liked it. You know, and then I've watched First Contact.
Yeah,
which is wicked.
Good.
Wicked.
Yeah,
film.
it's great, isn't it? Listen,
Really
did
good.
I tell you about First Contact? I took my dad to see it. You know, my dad who died a long time ago now. And I was just going to go and see it when I was visiting my mum and dad in the Southampton area. And he said, I'd like to come and see that with you. I said, Dad, you don't like Star Trek. And he just wanted to do a sort of bonding thing with me. Because Dad and I watched a lot of films together, mostly war films and westerns, which is why I'm obsessed with those sort of things. So I took him to see it. And, you know, as you know, there are a lot of continuity references in First Contact. But he absolutely, he loved it because of the spectacle and the enormity of it, you know, seeing that in a cinema. And I said to him afterwards, but did you understand about that chap Picard? He said, yeah, well, he'd obviously been previously taken over by them. So the brilliant thing about that film is that it just feels like it's a continuation of something from the series. But I know for a fact that it works for someone who knows nothing about any kind of Star Trek. All my dad knew about Star Trek before he watched that film was that it was rubbish, in his view.
But it's great. It's a great, just on its own, is like a base under siege kind of jobby going on there, mixed with, so you've got the horror elements, and like it's really what I would say is it gives you the Borg story that you kind of want, like the scary Borg doing their thing based under siege, you know, and then that's coupled with the adventure elements of the stuff on Earth and the sort of, you know, sending the ship into space to start off the big space race. And it's just great fun. It's just a very well done film, and I feel like this is, I mean, obviously I've got Nemesis and Insurrection, the two left. But I feel
they're both pretty dire.
I've heard that they're pretty dreadful. But I will say though that this journey has been an interesting one, because it's kind of taught me that not everything people say is necessarily true. Like, you know, obviously there's
that's true, or is it?
Or is it? You know, there's a lot of garbage in there. Believe me, you know, that being the final frontier, being absolute total garbage. But I have to say, some of the ones, you know, people have said to me the modern Star Trek films are rubbish. You know, you're not going to enjoy them. People have said that Generations is a dreadful film. People said The Search for Spock is a dreadful film.
I did, yeah.
Disagree. I think they're really good. I just enjoyed it. It's a very enjoyable journey.
I've got to watch it again.
You should do. It's a very enjoyable journey, and one that I'm actually rather sad to be at the end of, and as I transition to DS9 next.
Listen, in First Contact, I can't remember the line, but it's one of two lines that Commander Data has in the history of Star Trek, where a plot would fall apart were it not for Data's line. In the episode Yesterday's Enterprise, which if pushed at gunpoint I'd say is my favourite episode of Star Trek The Next Generation.
It's a good one.
There's the whole business about how Guinan knows that time has changed, because of course they need someone in the story, don't they, who can say that this isn't right. And so Data, and I think Picard says, but why is she, you know, why is Whoopi Goldberg so clever, or was to that effect? And Data says, she may have a perception of time, you know, and it's sort of, you know, that goes beyond our linear appreciation, or whatever the line is. And you think, oh, we're safe, the story's safe. And there's a line like that in First Contact as they're going through the sort of time eddy down to Earth or something. And you know, someone says, how come this entire plot isn't I might bleep that out. And Data says, well, perhaps the time wake that we are experiencing, or so, I can't remember what the line is, but again,
it's shielding us, isn't it? It's perhaps the time wake that we're in, or whatever, to that effect, is shielding us from that. So whilst
how come we haven't been
changed,
blown up with everyone else? Yes, that's it. Yeah. So you just think, wow, it's like they spotted that the day before they shot it, and someone came running into the studio and said, hold on, quick, Brent Spiner, say this now, otherwise we're sunk.
Absolutely, there are a few cagey moments in that film in particular where you think this plot hole could occur at any moment.
But they've got it all sealed off nicely. It's a bit like, you know, Colin Baker when he did Trial of a Time Lord said, hold on a sec, wasn't Patrick Charlton put on trial by the Time Lords for interfering? They went, no, yes, see what... quick, put in a line saying, didn't this happen before? Yes, but we're doing it again, so there.
Job
that was
done.
literally the line, yeah. Bish, bash, bosh, sorted.
Well, it works, though.
Genius, Eric Sherwood, well done.
Well done. You save the day, Colin.
Okay.
But there we go. What a journey. Your turn.
But yes, Defending the Guilty. Have you seen it?
I've not, no.
You can't seen it because it's new and you don't watch anything new. It's a new comedy series on BBC Two, I think. I don't know. I'm watching it on the iPlayer as a box set. It's half-hour comedy drama about barristers in British courts, and it's really good. It's really good.
Let's have a look at who's in it.
Mark Bonnar is
Come
in
on,
it.
it's going to be great then, isn't it?
And he's amazing. I mean, he's not the star, but he plays a great recurring character who is such an arse, and he does it so brilliantly. A barrister who thinks he's absolutely it. And what's the name of the lady in it who used to star in the IT Crowd?
Catherine Parkinson.
Catherine Parkinson, who's amazing in it. And also someone Sharp, the young chap who plays the young barrister. Will Sharp, is it?
Will Sharp, yeah. I've got
He's
the IMDb
amazing.
up.
They're all amazing, fantastic characters. I mean, it's a very silly comedy, but it's great. It's worth watching. I recommend it thoroughly. Also,
okay.
as I mentioned to you while we were recording a podcast of a different breed just earlier this morning, the Big Finish podcast, I just found myself with half an hour to spare. Hancock's half hour.
Hancock's half
And I fancied a bit of Patrick Troughton because you can never have enough Patrick Troughton, my favourite Doctor. And so I thought I would watch Doctor Who, The War Games, Episode 1. And what a corking Episode 1 it was. Terence Dicks and Malcolm Hulke through and through. Fantastic work.
It's
Loved
a great
it.
story. It's a really, really good story.
Yeah. Well, for those who don't know, it's the last Patrick Troughton story, and it's a 10-part story, mainly because loads of other scripts fell through. So Terence Dicks, who was the junior script editor at the time, and Malcolm Hulke, one of his old mates who he knew from other writing gigs, got together and cooked up a story that just went on and on and on to fill up 10 weeks of television. And, there's definite treading of water in some of the middle episodes, but what glorious treading of water it is.
It's an enjoyable one. I remember being satisfied because I'd wanted a Doctor Who story that was set in either the First or Second World War. So to get that, I was really pleased to have the First World War elements in it straight away, and I thought that was great. It is one of those ones. I mean, I remember looking at a huge double video of it. I seem to recall. I think there was a double video. Yeah,
It was absolutely was a double.
Massive thing. And I remember, it was one of those ones. It is a bit of a drifter in the middle where you kind of lose interest and often don't make it to the end. But it's an enjoyable one nevertheless.
Well, can I tell you something? I mean, obviously, I did see it at the time. I am that old, and I have very, very firm memories of it. But I next saw it at the National Film Theatre screening, where they showed all 10 parts in one go, and I had to watch the whole thing in one go.
Gosh.
And there was someone sitting in the seat in front who had smelly feet.
Ooh, oh dear. You persevered.
I did persevere. Yeah.
See,
Incredible.
I did the opposite. I went to a gig a couple of days ago and see Gary Newman, and was seated.
I hate to ask,
but they are.
But was it good?
They are electric. It was absolutely amazing. Yeah, it was really, really cool. Got given some complimentary tickets, and I was intrigued to find that they were in the balcony, which is quite nice. But anyway, so I watched the support act. It was really good, really into it. And then somebody sat in front, bloke with a ponytail and a bloke with a very large head, and I couldn't see a thing. And I was sitting there. I thought, what could I do? And so.
Is this about the beheading I heard about?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then they threw him off the balcony. So in the end, I went down and snuck into the standing area instead, and had the best time. It was absolutely brilliant. Thought nobody's going to get between myself and Gary Newman and having a great gig. And it was
your
superb.
video. I saw a bit of your little video of it, and
pretty close as well.
Well, that's great,
so,
wasn't it?
I can understand your frustration. I would have asked him to at least put his shoes on.
Well, it's very difficult when people have got smelly feet. They often don't realise they have smelly feet, because they've lived with them for 14 years or whatever. That's what they smell like, 14-year-old feet.
14-year-old socks.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Socks, not feet. Do you want to read the first email sent to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com?
It would be a great pleasure. So this first one here is from Richard Foster, and it was sent on the 24th of the 9th, 2019 at 14:38, a terrific year. Greetings, Nick and Benji. Listening to your first Greatest Hits episode and wanted to comment that, like the instigator of the Nero Wolf viewing, I appreciate your candid discussion of the various shows that you watch. Sometimes, whilst you two didn't particularly enjoy things, I find myself thinking, that sounds interesting enough to seek out. And other times, you prevented me from wasting time on something that I almost certainly would not have enjoyed either. I also had something I've been waiting to ask for ages, in the hope that either of you or one of your listeners can confirm that I haven't been the subject of a decades-long hallucination. Alas, it's probably something that only Nick or someone of a similar vintage would have knowledge of, Benji being too young a whippersnapper to have encountered it. Well, what can I say? I have a strong recollection of a slightly scary kids mystery/drama show that would have originally aired almost certainly on the BBC in the late 1970s or early 80s. I'd really like to know what it is, but have not found it yet. I think it was very likely that it was not originally in English, but had been dubbed, just like Heidi, which aired at around the same time. The story featured a dystopian setting with a strange military technology that could freeze people. I remember almost nothing of the storyline other than the fact that it gave me the same sort of collywobbles as the Daleks did. But one scene does stand out clearly in my memory. The main junior characters were witness to some sort of accident where the freezing technology, possibly some sort of projectile that fell off its transportation as it was conveyed through town, killed a person in front of them. Do you have any clue what I might be thinking of? Were there any other kids' TV shows that you remember from your childhoods that were scary, in a good way? With best wishes from the sweltering swamp of mosquito-infested insanity that is Florida. Richard.
Well, that's interesting. I couldn't remember that TV series. I don't know what it is. You don't know, do you, Benji?
I'm just doing a little sweep of the internet to see if there's anything.
By the way, I looked up 1438, and then really nothing of any interest happened. You know, various.
Really, nothing at all.
No, nothing much. I mean, nothing that I care to read out, to be quite frank.
Well, that's a shame, isn't it? Oh.
So I asked, now I'm not sure whether I'm supposed to mention this or not. I've got a bit confused about confidentiality, always confuses me. My old friend, Andrew Pixley, TV archivist, I'd dearly love to read out an email from him, because I emailed that Richard's email to him and said, do you know what he's talking about? But Andrew's a very private man and doesn't want to be seen to be blowing his own trumpet. But I did ask him about Richard's email containing some vague memories of programs. Andrew's going to look into this anyway and see what he can come up with. In the meantime, let me give you some highlights of what Andrew said, because he said it was all right to sort of mention things. He's been listening to the Benji and Nick show, which I'm very grateful for.
Oh, thank you.
Enjoyed the bite about it. He was suggesting a series called The Middlemen.
The Middlemen.
With Francis Matthews and Frank Windsor, which I do remember. Alan Plater wrote it, and that's Alan Plater's Andrew's favourite author, you know, who wrote Beiderbecke Affair and so on and so forth. He also said favourable things about Warship. You remember I've mentioned that before.
Yeah, I'd love to watch Warship, actually. That would be a great one.
And there was also the whole business of Department S, he mentioned, and how they, no one has any idea why ATV picked out 6 days, that one with the plane late by 6 days, as the first episode. He said the nominal debut episode is actually The Man in the Elegant Room,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, it's got pretty minimal setup, he says, but you do see Sir Curtis briefing Stuart and Annabelle, and there's a scene which emphasises Jason's credentials as an author. So, and it's where they sort of go to find someone, and someone important or someone who's done something wrong, and they go into what turns out to be like a studio. In fact, I'm sure it is one of the studios they just shot the episodes in, and in the middle of it is a set of a room, and there's a man who's kind of lost his marbles in there, locked in with sort of iron bars in front of him, and it's really weird.
That's weird. Yeah, that sounds slightly disturbing.
But and also he was agreeing with me about the apparently it was a change in taxation laws in 1969 that meant that homegrown TV series had to be made in 16mm because it was cheaper, whereas something for the overseas market could be made on 35mm film. Isn't
that is interesting. Slightly
like the Persuaders.
Slightly pointless, but I suppose money is everything, isn't it, unfortunately?
He mentions a load of other weird shows that we ought to... The Corridor People, which I have got and watched a little bit of, and it just seems absolutely blinking terrible. Spider's Web, spelt with a Y instead of an I, Spider. Cover, Virtual Murder, Crib, The Organisation. He mentions those as shows. We ought to look into those.
These are some real obscurities, aren't they?
Oh, not arf, not arf.
Oh, I like the sound of this.
Anyway, there's the last email for you to read out. By the way, did you look into what Richard Foster might have been referring to?
I tried to find it. There's not a lot to really go on. There's some comedy called Out of This World, which allegedly has something to do with freezing. And
but this, he said, was a foreign programme.
Yeah, to be honest, I can't seem to... I mean, freezing kids show 1970s. Frozen kids show... It's not the singing, ringing.
Well, Andrew says he's going to be, for some reason, this is utterly confidential, looking into some of these shows that were brought over and dubbed. He's going to be looking into some of those, and it may pop up, and hopefully he'll let us know. Fingers crossed.
Let's hope so. Do
you want to read the next and last email?
Happily. So, doobity-doobity-doo. Hello. Oh, I'd better say who's that. So this is from Nigel Bromley. It was sent on the 22nd of the 9th, 2019. 2211. The future. Hello, chaps. Thank you for such a brilliant podcast series. You're both such excellent company, and you bring great joy. Give yourselves a pat on the back. There we go. Having been a geeky fan of vintage TV for many years, it's seriously fabulous to discover that I'm not alone in my weird anti-popular culture ways. Pyramid brackets S of Mars. Whoa, what just sublime who. I've just finished watching a show on Talking Pictures entitled The Rivals of Sherlock Holmes. The episode was, I think, called Cell. Started to enjoy it due to Michael Gough, who is obviously awesome. That was me adding that little bit in there. Alfred. Then who turns up but dear Nicholas Courtney, Mag-nif. Looks like an early 1970s production, but wondered if you were familiar with it. Keep up the good work, Nige. Sutek.
Click. Press click at the end. Well, I am familiar with it, but only sort of peripherally. I remember it being on, so it was either early, mid, or later 70s, probably early to mid 70s. I do remember it, and I did catch a couple of bits of it on Talking Pictures, but literally just minutes, and I thought, I must watch this, but it's because my son has commandeered the blooming television to play Fortnite on. I just never get to watch television. I mean, if only there was a sort of equivalent of an iPlayer for Talking Pictures. I just got Freeview on an app on my iPad, but you can't watch Talking Pictures on it. I thought, well, what's the blinking point of that?
Oh, that's annoying, isn't it?
Oh, come on, Talking Pictures. Some sort of streaming service.
A streaming service would be superb.
So, yes, I really wish I had watched more of the Rivals of Sherlock Holmes. Lots of period detective stuff is basically what it's about.
I've certainly seen it on. I've certainly seen it on there and clocked in
it's
now and
bit
again.
Of work.
There's a lot of good, just looking now, there's a lot of good actors that have popped up in it.
Yeah.
Caroline John has popped up in it. Is that Paul Darrow, maybe?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, Paul Darrow
right. We better carry on with our journey through our old.
Yeah, let me find
the site,
the list of
nicholasbriggs.com podcasts. Here we go. So going right back to the beginning. Oh, right, there we go. Well, we got to. We were just going to talk about Quatermass and the Pit. Quatermass and the Pit.
That was the one where. That was the one where I did a recap. But I thought we were just watching. I thought we were watching the whole thing as opposed to just the first episode. So it took me like a day to watch all of it. To got there and just, oh no, we're only doing the first one. Then we did the whole thing anyway. Yeah, Quatermass and the Pit. It's kind of hard not to like it, isn't it? Really, like it's just a bit of iconic television.
It's amazing. That's what that was released on the 1st of July 2018. Our podcast on that. Yeah, lovely. I mean, it's another one of those. Just want to immediately watch it again. Great performance of Andre Morel. And also, the movie version of it was not half bad with Andrew Keir as Quatermass.
Yeah, I saw the movie before I saw the show, so of course.
I think I probably did, yeah. I mean, I certainly am not old enough to have seen the show when it was broadcast.
An old man.
What?
An old man. You said you're not old enough, so I just said he's an old man.
Oh, I see.
Old, yes.
Touchwood.
Salme, Adonai.
Anyway, just having a bit of a Catweasel moment there.
We move on to Pathfinders then, didn't we?
Dreadful, rubbish.
Yeah, not very
on
good
the 8th
at all.
of July. Terrible. Awful.
An interesting
badly
one.
shot, terrible script, awful acting.
Just
but
cheap.
Done, cheap. No, but shot on film and and sort of quite high production values in a way.
Gallons of potential, but subsequently, just didn't deliver the goods.
On paper, right up our Strasser, to be quite frank.
Absolutely, and so for it to not be very good is obviously a bit of a shame.
The Nightmare Man. We gave this a bit of a kicking on the 15th of July 2018, didn't we?
I don't think it deserved the kicking, but then if you don't if we both just didn't like it, then I suppose what could you do? You just didn't dig it really. I mean, I love the idea. Didn't I give away my copy for a competition?
I think you did. Yeah, I think you did. Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? It's Doctor Who without the Doctor.
I just didn't. There was something about the feel of it which I just didn't really get into, and I don't know why.
Shot on video.
Yeah, maybe it was that. I don't know. I just didn't enjoy it really, which is a shame.
Ex-Doctor Who director Douglas Camfield using video cameras as well as he could at the time, and basically he just put lots of filters on that made everything look blurred. It's just irritating, really. See, I'm getting all cross again.
Just irritating.
The next one, I remember I was ill. 29th of July 2018. I got a really unpleasant
yes, this is right.
Chest virus, and I was having X-rays and I was really under the weather, and it was on a holiday as well, so I completely didn't have a holiday. My holiday was only going to be me sitting at home and going to the beach while my wife and child went to Spain. That's a whole other story. Star Trek Balance of Terror, which I absolutely loved.
You missed out the one game.
Oh, well, sorry. So scratch all that about being ill. I definitely saw the one game, which I didn't much like.
See, I loved the one game.
On the 22nd of July. I just thought it was a bit crappy and 80s. And
Since that, I've watched it again, and I enjoy it even more. I think it's really well done. I think it's a fun series. But I respect the fact that you don't like it. But
I couldn't force myself to watch any more, to be quite frank. I wanted to, but really, I wanted to for the sake of fairness.
I think it's one of those ones. It's especially when you get to episode 2 and there's loads of shooting going on, and you have a jousting match on motorbikes. It's crazy, but it's fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But that's the nature of our podcast. It's not always a complete agreement.
Yes, so Balance of Terror from Star Trek, the original Star Trek. Quite an atypical episode, I think. With it written as a submarine drama, really. A battle between the Enterprise and the Romulan ship. I think Jamie joined you for that one, didn't he, Jamie Anderson?
He did, yes, he did, yeah, and we talked about that. It was great. Love, I mean, I've already absolutely waxed lyrical about Star Trek on here today, but it's just a wonderful example of Star Trek, classic Star Trek at its best, I think.
And it's very serious in tone, wasn't it? I mean, a lot of Star Trek episodes have a little bit of cheeky charm about them, but this was very serious-minded, like a lot of the first series of Star Trek.
It was high stakes, wasn't it? High stakes telly, really.
Perfectly put, yes.
And Kirk at his finest as well, being in command, being in the chair. Yeah, awesome. Oh, I'd like to watch that again, actually.
Yeah, I could watch that again at the drop of a hat. That wasn't a hat, but I did drop something.
His hat is indeed made of plastic.
My famous plastic hat. Starfleet, which
now,
you did.
Yeah, you escaped that one.
Yeah. Starfleet.
Ghastly rubbish. Rubbish, dreadful telly. Good soundtrack, everything else dreadful. Would not be watching that again.
I think you're being generous to the soundtrack, to be quite fair. I'm just opening the door behind me because it's suddenly got quite hot in here. The temperature's varying ridiculously.
It's an interesting one. It's better today. Yesterday's weird. I find if the weather's in between, I get terrible headaches. If it's like just that sort of changeable middle grey sort of area, yeah. I don't enjoy.
I had a paracetamol or two this morning. Anyway, yes, Starfleet. I think I did watch it, though. I did watch it. Didn't I write in and you got a computer to read out my...
I came across that recording a couple of days ago, actually. I was cleaning out my computer, yeah. Patrick Troughton.
What was I mentioning Patrick Troughton for in a review of Starfleet?
It was about old television, and it was something I have great memories of. I watched a lot of things when they were on originally. I even am old enough to remember the days when Doctor Who was played by Patrick Troughton. There's something along those lines.
Randall and Hopkirk deceased on the 12th of August. I must have been back by then, mustn't I?
You were back, yeah. Benji and Nick are chatting about this one, it says there. Yes, absolutely. Randall and Hopkirk, brilliant. Well, of course it's brilliant. It's Randall and Hopkirk.
Yeah. I mean, never quite using the full potential of the format, I feel.
Yes, we did come to that conclusion, didn't we?
Yeah.
That
and
you could
even
do more
the
with
Vic and Bob the Vic and Bob reimagining of it actually does use the format a bit more, but what lets it down is that Vic and Bob, and I hate to say this because I love them, I think they're hilariously funny and I have a big place in my heart for them, they kind of weren't good enough actors to really sell the show, but of course they gosh, a message just went off and it just almost deafened me in my headphones. Bing!
They both messaged in to say, yes, we're good actors.
Oh, it's a shame, but it wouldn't have got made without them, so swings and roundabouts. What did we think about Robin of Sherwood? That was on the 19th of August 2018. I was never a great fan of it because it clashed with Doctor Who in the schedules.
See, I think I was in high praise of it. I never watched any more, which is a shame because I actually really would have liked to have watched more. I think it's something to do with the fact that the price of the Blu-rays is shocking.
Is it?
Yeah, I think
positively
so,
shocking.
Yeah, well, for something I haven't got particularly fond memories of in the same way as I'd buy a Blu-ray of something else. Yeah, it's like $42.99 for the series.
Get stuffed.
It's just like I don't know enough about it to really drop that level of money, But I enjoyed it.
It's a lot of episodes, I suppose.
I was really sad this week. I wanted to buy Miami Vice Blu-ray. But that's like 85 quid. So I'm not going to drop that for Miami Vice. You can
there's some things I'd pay almost anything for. Well, you know what I mean? But
absolutely.
I just have to have it. But yeah, I don't have to have Robin of Sherwood. All right, well, let's brush over Robin of Sherwood. I know we'll upset a lot of people there, so I'm very, very sorry. Just never was my thing.
Great music, though.
I was just about to send the music up. Fuddy-duddy-dum. Oh, I hated all that clown rubbish. Right, the Stone Tape, which I do love.
Stone Tape's brilliant.
But my goodness, was the acting just a little bit too big to be that close to the camera.
Well, it was a bit very stagey, isn't it? And has that sort of slightly unpleasant dated scene where they just go full on sexism and racism all in one scene.
Yes.
I liked it. I think the Stone Tape's incredibly clever. Goes on a bit as well though at times. Type of thing they should remake it. They do a brilliant. That would be an absolute prime time Halloween.
Definitely.
BBC prime time Halloween. That would be so good. But they're not going to do it, are they?
I don't think so. Well, no.
It would be very good. It's a good idea.
The idea has been plundered a lot, I feel. Anyway, okay. On the 2nd of September, Piece of Cake. What was that about?
Brilliant. Spitfire pilots, Second World War, ITV. Done surprisingly well, actually. I think it's one of the better war dramas, but also one of the better Spitfire, fighter pilots sort of. You don't get a lot of that sort of thing, mainly because of the problems it presents with having 1 million cast members due to people getting shot down all the time. But I think
they used action scenes from the Battle of Britain movie, didn't they?
Do you know what? For a lot of things, they still use that footage. It's all on film, and you can clean it up for a lot. Once you start recognising the shots, you'll notice it in everything. You really will.
I've seen it in documentaries as well, where they've used it as though it's documentary footage.
Oh yeah, well it's like a great drama they did a couple of years ago, First Light by Geoffrey Wellham, which is a great book. In that they used Battle of Britain footage, and that was only 10 years old, if that.
Yeah.
Still stands up though. But Piece of Cake was great because they did have exclusive footage that they shot of real Spitfires
as well. Yes.
Doing stuff as part of that, including a great stunt where a Spitfire flies underneath a bridge. It's a good series.
Amazing.
It is good.
I watched it all. I got hooked on it. I loved it. I mean, it's a bit of an oddity in that it's shot on film but edited on videotape, so all the credits are all sort of fuzzily superimposed, which makes it look like a sort of Australian soap opera. But yeah, great cast, really interesting. Pulls no punches. Yeah, good show.
It's a good show. Good show.
Good show. We were into the idea of World War II then, nostalgia and all that rough stuff.
The good old days.
We did Colt It on the 9th of September 2018, and we were a bit disappointed by it, weren't we?
Yeah, it was one of those ones where, and I've seen a lot of Cold It's and I enjoy it, but it's one of those ones when you look at it from a critical perspective, as unfortunately we do when we do this because we're watching it to see what we think of it. I remember being quite disappointed by the fact that you can just tell it's just filmed in England. It's just a lot of people going over very English-looking countryside, and it's a bit stuffy in places. But I have to say, as drama goes, I still enjoy it. I can give it the worst review ever, but it doesn't stop me getting the DVD box set out and watching it again.
No, fair enough. Jamie's just texted me to say that he's got. What's he saying? I've got a call now, and then he's going to the chiropractor. I'll just see if he's free now. Anyway. So yeah, Cold It's a bit too dry as dust for me, although it's very difficult doing a first episode thing. There's a bit where they all have their heads shaved and it's really bad bald wigs they've got on as well. I'm being a nitpicker, but yeah, I always remember it being a bit dry and not liking it as much as everyone else did. And I thought, well, now I'm older, I'll be over that immaturity. But it all came flooding back, my sort of reservations about it, I feel.
Well, I feel like there's too much of it. There's a lot to get through, too much of it, some good character work in there, but ultimately a lot of just people milling around really. But you do get Kessler, who's amazing, German Commander Kessler, who of course got his own series.
He did.
Called
was that Bernard Hepton? No, it wasn't. It was I made exactly the same mistake last time.
Kessler's Clifford Rose.
Clifford Rose, who I've worked with. Yes, in a Big Finish Paul McGann thing called The Scapegoat, in which we had him playing a German officer, and I think I probably even said that last time too.
It's like a recap because of that. You probably thought, who's a good German officer?
Totally we did. Absolutely,
Kessler.
Totally we did. Yeah.
Kessler,
and he knew exactly what was required.
Oh gosh, no, Kessler wasn't in Cold It's. He was in Secret Army. Gosh.
Oh.
God, they just completely I mean, all these Nazis, they blur into one, but oh dear, what a blunder. I do apologise for the people pulling their hair out.
We moved on the 16th of September to do the Tomorrow People, which you loathed, the original Tomorrow People.
I never get on with it. Just can't. It's just rubbish.
It's too crappy, isn't it?
It's just rubbish. I don't care what people think. I know a lot of people have fond memories of it, but if you look at it objectively from somebody that doesn't have fond memories of it, it's pretty rubbish.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I have fond memories of it, but even I know it's pretty rubbish. It was the ITV's challenge to Doctor Who. That's how it was built. They even nicked some of the musicians. A lot of the stock pieces are done by the Radiophonic Workshop. And of course the theme tune is done by Dudley Simpson, who did virtually all the incidental music for Doctor Who at the time. So it was this is ITV doing it, and it showed that they just didn't have the expertise. The effects were even worse than Doctor Who's worst effects. And anyway, poor old Tomorrow People. It's a shame. I know people who love it. I used to be the adjudicator on the commentaries for the re-releases on DVD, and I resigned from the job because it became too flipping tiresome. Right, on the 23rd of September, State of Decay, a Doctor Who story. Well, we just watched episode 1.
I love State of Decay, so that shows my taste. I've just knocked Tomorrow People, but then I love State of Decay. I love all of those sort of bleak Tom Baker stories. I think it's a great change. I love the music, I love the tone, I love the setting, and I love how gothic it all gets. So what can I say?
I particularly didn't like it. I didn't like it at the time, and watching it again, it just
polar opposites, you see, which is good.
Yeah.
It's good. That's the beauty of this podcast, is that it's not always a happy ride, man.
I mean, I keep thinking I should like it. I mean, it's Terrence Dicks, I don't know, it's just it's like a classic Terrence Dicks story done by a production team who didn't know how to do it. I'm not a huge fan of Paddy Kingsland's score in it. And Tom Baker was starting to look extremely tired and like he didn't really want to be there as well, I found. But there you go. The Jensen Code on the 30th of September, just the day after my birthday, the 29th. Oh.
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it? You didn't do what I asked you to do either, did you? Which was watch it from episode 7.
I just didn't have the courage, but I will do.
You should do it. You should. It's either 6 or 7 you should watch it from, because actually what happens after that point, the boy doesn't remember what's happened to him. He's in an out of bounds place with a bunch of sort of reprobate kids, and something terrible happens to him. A technological thing affects his brain, and like a government top secret thing to do with computers and missiles and what have you. And from episode 6 or 7 onwards, he's hospitalized and doesn't remember what's happened in the first 6 or 7 episodes. And then you get flashes of it until he finally remembers it all. So in a way, you don't need those first episodes. It's like you should watch those afterwards to find out what really happened to him. But yeah, it's a great performance by the boy who played Kez in the film of the same title. Can't remember his name though. Kez?
It's one of those ones, yeah, I appreciate it for what it is, but I just didn't enjoy it really.
I didn't like it much at the time. It was too grown up for me, bizarrely, at the time, and I really absolutely lapped it up. Now, 7th of October, The Champions.
Got an absolutely glowing review, didn't it? Really did, and rightfully so. It's great fun. I came to that one completely fresh and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first episode I think we watched. It's the story of 3 Nemesis agents who crash and apparently die in the mountains of Tibet. But they're revived and augmented by a strange man wearing sandals in the snow. Why would you wear sandals in the snow? That shows he has superpowers. So yes, the trouble with the series as a whole is that it, like Randall and Hopkirk, like all these ITC things, they don't really exploit the strengths of the format. They just resort to thriller of the week plots.
But it sells. Thriller of the week sells. So, why wouldn't you? Quite frankly, but at the same, no, you're totally right. Totally right. But it was good. It was fun, and it was interesting, and it was different, and it had a good pace, and I thoroughly liked it. Unlike
a lot of nearly good backdrops. that don't quite work on the studios.
Ambitious, I would say.
Yes. Let's do Tibet in a studio.
Do Tibet in somebody's garden. Of course, that being said, the Owl service, which was on the 14th of October, that was not a good day for us, was it?
Did we really hate it that much? Because I think I started watching more of it afterwards because people love it for its obscurity and
just weird, isn't it?
It's
weird.
It is weird, but it kind of... I mean, when I saw it as a kid, I absolutely loathed it. It was flew totally above my head. But I ended up quite enjoying it. But I still haven't finished it, so I think it's an important piece of work. I think that's what I said.
Definitely.
Who is it who wrote it? Alan Garner. It's from a book by
Yes.
Alan Garner, who wrote The Weird Stone of Brisingamen, or Brisingamen, however you want to pronounce it, which was read to me when I was a school kid, which I absolutely adored. And so, yeah, let's leave the Owl service as the enigma it has always been. What's up next?
The flip side of Dominic Hyde. Which is a real plucked out of obscurity, and I love that, and I recommend it to my friends, and it's a really good drama.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah, it's about a time travelling. What is he? I don't know, a courier or something.
Some bloke in a little weird spaceship that goes around with quids and drinks beer and falls in love with a lady.
I have no peas.
And falls in love with a lady from the past, and it's just very good. I'd recommend that.
And becomes his own father.
Oh yes, it's so weird, isn't it? Yes, I always forgot.
It's great. Talking of weirdness, on the 28th of October, Sky. I think we quite liked it, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we didn't think it was too bad. I thought it was bog standard, wasn't it? Sort of in the middle, really. I would say Sky.
No.
Well, I don't know. I don't think we went. I mean, the concept is great and the show is great, but I think we went away from it being like that was good, but like it's not going to change our life. Or both
well, that's
of our
true.
lives.
I mean, it's just some old TV show. What are you talking about?
How dare you, sir? How very dare you?
But it has some interesting music and a sort of David Bowie sort of performance in it.
It's very funky. It's very funky, and there were some real standout stuff, some good performances as well. I think that's one where people look back very fondly on.
Definitely.
Fondly of, rather.
No,
I did like
Sky.
The best thing is the...
Yeah,
I suppose you can. I like the font in Sky as well, that broken glass, shattered sort of font.
Oh, yeah. Very good font. What about the font of Ghostwatch?
The font of Ghostwatch. I actually handed my friend Tom my DVD copy of Ghostwatch yesterday and told him to go and watch it with his partner. And he's going to tell her that it was a real thing that happened.
See if she believes it.
See if she believes it, yeah. I mean,
was it done as an April Fool or Halloween thing, the BBC did?
I think it was like a Halloween thing, wasn't it? People fell for it, didn't they?
Yes, and it was done as though it was a live broadcast. And it changed all the BBC's guidelines, didn't it? Because it upset so many people. It's not quite believable.
No, but it's still superb. But then I suppose if you were sort of a casual viewer who says open to suggestion, then I suppose you could watch it or just clock in at some point and maybe it would spook you out a bit.
Michael Parkinson, the veteran British TV interviewer presenting it, an odd choice, but I think he did darn well.
But he is what sells it, in my opinion, because you don't expect him to do something like that. So when you see him in that position hosting, you almost believe it more because you think, oh well, Parky wouldn't do anything silly. And it's not like nowadays where you've got all of the sort of comic relief aspects of things. We're so used to seeing celebrities doing crazy things.
True.
But it's a weird one, isn't it? Really. Like back then, you would have seen him and said, right, okay, this is a real thing.
And Sarah Green from off of Blue Peeper.
Blue Peeper, and of course Craig Charles as well, Red Dwarf fame.
Yeah, that's a bit of an odd choice. Okay, what was next? Survivors, the 1975 Terry Nation post-apocalyptic pandemic series, We loved it, didn't we?
Goes without saying, we love that one. Absolutely great show, innovative show, great for female lead roles, wonderful tone. Something very personal to me because I worked solidly, as did you, Nick, on the Survivors range of Big Finish. And so it's something that I spent a good few years of my life working on. Not this particular show, but the new one. But I love Survivors, and I can't say a bad word about it. I just love it.
To be fair, studio bound, a bit creaky, but still beautifully acted, beautifully written, certainly in this early stage of it. It became a bit of a soap opera later, which I didn't like.
Yeah, I suppose lots of mutton fat candles.
18th of November 2018, we did Into the Labyrinth, which you really wanted to do, and not to be biased, but it was complete rubbish.
Well, I have to say, no sooner had we stepped into the labyrinth, we were rushing to get out again because it was pretty diabolical, wasn't it, really?
Oh, kids show, trying to emulate Doctor Who. Roy, what's the name of the guy who played Fagin in the film Oliver?
I know.
Was famously going to be Doctor Who before John Pertwee. He was the choice before John Pertwee, but turned it down, I think.
Ron Moody.
Roy Moody.
Hello, Roy.
Right, no, Roy. I insist he's called Roy.
Roy Cropper.
But yeah, it was just cheap and nasty and CSO and quite bad child. And someone like Ron Moody doing this, I thought, my goodness, he must have either lived next door to the studio or they paid him phenomenal amounts of money. I think it was the latter. Hold on. All right, I'm going to call Jamie now. I'm going to interrupt proceedings to call Jamie now.
Cool.
Hello.
Oh, that was loud. Hello.
Great to catch you just before going off to the chiropractor.
Thank you very much. Yeah, otherwise you just hear and nothing else.
Them's your bones.
That was an impression of my bones. Yeah, thank you.
Now, before we ask you a stupid random question, do you have anything to tell us?
I've tried a rather nice new flavour of Tango.
That's a fizzy soda drink, for those of you who don't know. What flavour is that? Tropical
Tango, sugar-free no less.
Is this some kind of advert?
Yeah, I'm now sponsored by Britvic. No, I'm not. That's literally all I could tell you that was interesting. I was just having a phone call about a Welsh creative industries technical innovation grant. There you go. That's how exciting my day is. Bet you wish you hadn't asked now.
I do. Benji, if you do have a favourite fizzy drink?
He's going to say beer, isn't he?
Well, beer, yeah. A favourite fizzy drink? Yes, I do actually. And you can't get it in this country. It's called Lift, and you can only get it in Europe. And it's just fizzy. It's just fizzy apple juice, but it's so brilliant. I love it. It's not bad for you necessarily. It's just apple juice that's fizzy. I actually wrote to the Coca-Cola company and asked them to bring it to the UK, and they said they have no plans.
Oh, poor Benji. Where'd you get it from then?
I mainly get it in Germany. I don't know if you can get it in France, but certainly in Germany you can get Lift anywhere, and it's just the best.
Oh, well, it's not very far away. Then you could just pop over and bring back a couple of cases, couldn't you?
You can do. If you go to Lidl, you can get it in. You can get their own brand, which is really massive, huge 2-litre bottles.
What, in this country?
No, in Deutschland.
Nice. Was it you that was telling me about some weird fizzy tarragon soda drink that's only available in Lithuania? Or was that somebody else?
That was someone else, or you dreamt it.
No, it's real. Anyway, there you go. I can't remember the name of it, so that's no good. And what are you watching? What's happening?
Oh, we've been recapping. We will next time be doing the Secret Service. I think we'll have to take a break from the recap and do the third part of the recap in another podcast, Benji, don't you? Because it's
a pretty mammoth, isn't it? It's a big, it's a biggie.
Is it dragging on a bit?
Yes, we just did Into the Labyrinth, which really depressed us. And I thought I'd rather be talking to you. Now, of course, something that you and I are going to do, Jamie, is we're going to go to the Big Finish 20th anniversary Celebrity Bash. It's not really Celebrity Bash. It's just like, you and I really.
Because Rufus Hound is going.
Oh yeah. But Benji's not going.
What?
Yeah, I can't go.
Benji?
Because of his dog.
Well, that's fair enough. That's a good reason, I suppose. But
I haven't got anybody to look after the dog, and I don't want to leave. I can't really go to London and leave the dog.
oh, can Benji join us by FaceTime?
yeah. I'll sit with a beer and join you on FaceTime.
Yeah, like that. Well, I'll try and make that work. I don't know whether there'll be any reception at the venue.
Already making excuses. Poor Benji.
Ah, well, but have the best time on my behalf. You know me. I never like to miss a party. You should know that.
I know. Well, I'm devastated. Are you devastated, Jamie?
I'm one notch up from devastated, whatever that is.
That's devastated.
Devastated.
Benji, do you have a stupid question for Jamie?
I do. It's not so much stupid, but it's a good question. What's your go-to series or movie that you go to when you want to watch something but you can't find anything to watch?
Awakenings.
Awakenings?
With Robin Williams and Robert De Niro.
Oh.
Is that weird?
And
would you say how often do you watch that on a yearly basis?
3 times a year, probably.
Wow.
I have heard of it and people have told me about it in great detail. A number of people have great feelings about that film. I must watch it. I mean, it tells you something about me that I watched Sink the Bismarck.
And not Awakenings.
Not Awakenings. Or The Cruel Sea. Those are my go-to movies. Yeah.
What's Benji's?
If it's TV show, it's London's Burning. If it's a film, it's got to be probably Labyrinth.
Oh.
Labyrinth is
great. I found Labyrinth and all that a bit too unsettling to be regularly watched.
Oh, I love it. I know it inside out. That's my problem.
Good for him. He'll know then that Denise Breyer, the voice of Zelda in Terrorhawks, was the bag lady.
Yes, and she was also in Return to Oz, wasn't she, where she played the chicken?
She did. Do you know what? Return to Oz. Now there is a happy childhood nostalgia place to go.
Terrifying.
Great.
For me, it's not childhood. I was in my 20s when that was made. I was working for Starburst magazine. But yes, it is a good film. Yes.
It is scary though. Like there's quite a lot of scary things in it.
I love TikTok the robot.
Well, Jamie, you have to go and be chiropracted.
I do. Thank you very much.
I don't think that's
much
a verb.
indeed.
But, yeah. All right, ta-ta then.
Ta-ta.
Have a nice rest of your podcast.
See you at the party, if not before.
Yes, I look forward to it. Sorry you're not going, Benji. We'll miss you. Bye.
Sending off the vibes, man. Bye-bye.
That was it.
Look at the logo on this cleaning bottle. It says Power Force. It looks like a good television series from the 80s, doesn't it?
It does it.
Power Force. Good Housekeeping Institute approved 2017. Episode 1, Multi-Surface Polish with Dust and Protect. Sorry, carry on.
Okay, so as we promised Jamie, in fact, last week, we're going to be watching episode 1 of The Secret Service, which is a weird hybrid Jerry Anderson thing. Anyway, we'll
Stanley
discuss it
Unwin
next time.
as a vicar.
Oh, tiddly tar-patter.
Oh, dear.
I can't do his Unwinese. But anyway, I watched it. There's a lovely Secret Service primer by Chris Dale that you can see on social media. So have a look at that, Benji.
I will do.
It's
Definitely.
really good. Chris Dale does these brilliant things for Jamie.
Oh, he's very good at what he does.
Yeah. It's very witty, very understated. Very good. All right, then. Don't forget to send emails in to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. We'd love to hear from you. And I thought you were going to do a nice doobie-doo bed to everything I said there. All I'm saying is goodbye.
Goodbye.
Pressing stop now. Ka-chunk.